an interesting one. I'm just gonna play this for a short time here. Yeah, just thinking about something unrelated to this. Anyway. I haven't played this in a long time, but I have played this game for many, many years. I'm not going to start from the beginning for this. I'm just going to run through a little bit of the game to give it a kind of an overview of it. This is a Windows 3.1 game. The town music is a little loud and a little bit piercing. But hey, programmer music. So, this is a dungeon crawling kind of game. If I recall correctly, Avatar is the game that this is more or less based on, or at least is similar to. You can create characters of various races, and they can be various classes. You're only one at a given time, but you get benefits by having levels in each of them. It's kind of complicated, and there's a lot to it, but the game is pretty cool, but unforgiving somewhat. You need to really read the help lesson like a lot in order to to know what's going on in order to succeed. These characters, I created them after I'd played the game for many years and fully grasped the mechanics, and you'll notice their hit points are several hundred. On the other hand, I have some characters that are, well, as you can see, some old characters here having only like 100 or so. Here's this level 47 character with 140 hit points versus my current level 34 character, or whatever this thing is, at 338. And that's down to knowing the game mechanics. Stats matter. Your constitution affects how many hit points you get when you level. There's a lot that goes on. Anyway, I'm just gonna go through the main thing that you do, which is run around the dungeon. Automap does not like to save its position on screen. I navigate entirely by the automap. It's necessary. That thing offered to join me, but I don't wanna. Monsters, sometimes they'll want to join your party and they'll fight with you, and potentially hit you accidentally, all sorts of fun stuff. These high quality 90s graphics, right? Pictures of enemies up there, very exciting. My mouse. So the automap really is an automap in multiple senses. One, it follows you, and two, it fills in as you explore. But there are various symbols on the map that tell you things. Like, that's a teleporter. Whether it teleports you randomly or to a specific location, there's no way to know unless you've just found out through trial and error. If they teleport you randomly, they might just like split your party up and send all 4 of these people to completely different places, or maybe they'll send everybody to the same place. Random teleporters scatter everybody randomly on a given floor. They're always the same. I mean, a teleporter that is a random teleporter will always teleport people randomly on the floor that they're currently on. If it's a teleporter that goes to a fixed location, it always goes to that fixed location. That symbol over there is for a pit. It does damage if you fall in. If you're levitating, it makes it so you don't fall in except rarely. These are anti-magic squares here, so you can't cast spells while you're in this room. Which can be a big deal sometimes. This is a stud square, and what that means is enemies that appear there can be from multiple floors below you, and the deeper you go in, the more powerful the enemies are. This means that there's water there. Water will make you drown by standing in it, so you just take damage over time. But you can levitate to avoid that. There are certain rooms that will almost always have the same enemy or the same kinds of enemies in them, so over playing the game a lot, you can learn where to encounter certain things, because sometimes whenever you need to level up as a given class, you'll get quested to kill an enemy or bring back an item, so it can be very valuable to know where things are. Now, I'm stupidly high level for running around on the first floor, and I have pretty good equipment. This is the equipment of the currently selected character over here. There are alignments in the game, as you may have noticed here. There's good, neutral, and evil, and equipment has alignments to go with it. And if your alignment doesn't match, there can be varying effects. If your alignment is opposite of the item, it's real bad. Instead of getting positive effects from them, you get negative effects from them. So like this item here, Cloak of Night, makes you invisible while you're wearing it, lets you cast a spell a limited number of times, it increases your dexterity, has some attack and defense. But but if you were to wear this as a good character, it would decrease your attack and defense by that amount, it would decrease your dexterity by this amount, it would not make you invisible, and would not let you cast a spell. You also wouldn't be able to take it off without having a curse removed effectively. There are also cursed items which are always cursed, such as this white sash here. These are always cursed. But all that means in this case is you can't take it off. Cursed has no negative effect all by itself, it just means you can't remove it without getting it decursed. Or, well, not so much getting it decursed, but having the person in town remove it from you. I should probably take a moment to talk about some of these things over here. So time is time, it's a thing that exists. You can be poisoned or something and you take damage over time. And time is not connected to movement. So just standing around, time passes. That does not affect age, however. That's purely for the purposes of things like poison and disease. But age does matter. And the way that you age is whenever you go back into town, it'll fully heal you and restore your spell points. But it ages you based on how much you had to be healed, percentage-wise. And based on what race you are, like, say, humans, the closer you get to your age, you can, I guess, die permanently. I've never had a character get that old, but it causes bad things to happen if you die. Because if a character dies, it's not good, but you can just raise them from the dead. That ages them too. But as they get older, or if their constitution stat is really low, there's a chance of complications whenever you resurrect them, which causes all sorts of bad stuff to happen to your stats. You lose a whole bunch of stat points, you age a ridiculous amount, it's not good. That also happens if you teleport yourself inside a wall or something. It always happens every time, and you have to go through the complicated process of getting them back out of the wall. If they get turned to stone, they always lose a point of constitution whenever they have that fixed, which isn't great, but it's not the end of the world. There are enemies that can drain your stats and health permanently. There are some other games that do things like that. But your spell points don't cost time to reheal whenever you go to town, so if you have like somebody who has healing spells, like say this character probably does, yeah, I've got some heal spells, so I could do something like cast Minor Heal on the people who are missing hit points here. They're only missing like one, but still. That way, if I go back into town, I don't age in order to get my spell points back. This becomes relevant eventually. It makes it so you want to have a healer that you can swap out of this, load up the healer, the character, go into the dungeon with the other party still in the dungeon, heal the people in the other party, then go back upstairs to get their MP back, and then allow them to come back upstairs to get their MP back. Gotta game the system a bit in order to succeed at this game. Although, if you're not a human, age isn't a big deal. So, like, if you're a dwarf, their age cap is really high compared to the age cap for humans. For humans, it's hypothetically 100-ish. For dwarves and elves, it's like 400 or something. It's a really big number. You never have to worry about it on them. There are potions of youth which drain your constitution to use them, but they're completely worth it. Alright. So, you get loot in the dungeon. You can, if you identify things, their value goes up, but the value of an item is based on how many are in stock. So they already have 9 of this alignment in stock, so it's not worth very much. On the other hand, if they only had 1 of them or 0 of that alignment, it might be worth a whole lot more. Fortunately, for most items, you can realign them to be more usable by characters. If they're in bold in the store, that means the character you currently have selected is able to equip it. There are lots of things. There's various stats that go with armors. Attack and defense affects your chance to be hit. Enemies have those stats, then like weapons have a damage modifier, which I think is attached to strength for what it does. Bigger damage multiplier is better, surprise, surprise. There's a lot of things. It's an RPG. Money that you have in the bank isn't, you don't have to worry about having it stolen by thieves in the dungeon, which is, say, enemies that have the ability to steal. And you don't have to worry about dropping it on the ground when you die or whatever. But you don't have to pull money out of the bank in order to use it. The Seer will allow you to search for things in the dungeon. It can fail, however, and he charges you money for it. But it can help you if you're quested for something. It'll be like, this monster can carry it, and then you can search for that monster and maybe find it there. But it's not foolproof, but it is helpful. Oh, I don't have any kind of timer. There it is. Okay, at least that timer's working. Good. Okay, I'm gonna run back into the dungeon and go down to a deeper floor here. So, chests, they can have traps. This is what your character thinks it has the trap on it. This is how your other party members feel about that. This is their thought on whether they can open it. I don't remember exactly what the symbols mean beyond that, but my character thinks he can open it without a problem. I don't have to kill all these things, but killing stuff's useful. Let's see, they're peaceful. Alignment matters for enemies and stuff too. This is magically locked. The only way to open it is with the spell that opens that locks, or the item that does it. You basically have to have a thief in your party. Wait, it's not actually charm. I was thinking of charm of opening is what they call the spell. It's very expensive if you're not a thief. And they can still be trapped on top of that. There's a lot of things to know about this game in order to be successful at it. There's something I was going to say, but I don't remember what right now. Oh well. So that symbol right there means it's a secret door. There are... This perception stat will allow characters, if it's high enough, to detect stuff that's in front of them, like secret doors, or if the square they're standing on is a special kind of square, so like they could maybe have seen that this pit was here, and if they detect it, then it'll show up on your map forever, and this map is shared across all characters that are created in this game. So if multiple people playing on the same computer will still be sharing the same map with this game. The shop is shared as well. Games aren't usually like that these days, but that's how it is. But yeah, being able to detect, like, and you're on an anti-magic square, they'll find that out for you. On the other hand, if you're standing on an anti-magic square and try to cast a spell, you'll immediately know that it's an anti-magic square because it'll fail and it'll put it on your map as such. These white squares are rock, so there's nothing there. If you try to teleport into there, you'll have a bad time. It will absolutely let you cast the walk through this wall spell or the teleport spell straight into rocks, and you will die, and it will be bad. It will be very bad. So teleporting and stuff, very scary. Oh yeah. So this options thing means you can tell a party member what you want them to do by default whenever a fight starts. Everything happens in real time, like there's turns, you know, first person acts, then second person, then third person, then fourth person, and it goes back and forth between you and the enemies in order like that. But technically, if you're really fast, you can manually switch between all of your characters and tell them to do specific things in a given fight, but you only have a very small amount of time. This game is not turn-based. Lots of different enemies will be sharing the same picture, the same kind of enemy. It's like the snakes all look like snake. Bears, badgers, a lot of things look like that. Thief-type enemies all look like that. So, if a thief robs you and there's a chest there, you have to open the chest in order to get your money back. And if it's locked with that, then you have to unlock the chest in order to be able to do it. Well, let's go downstairs some more, because I can with this party. For almost all of these, I'm manually hitting F in order to tell my currently selected character to fight instead of cast a spell. That way I can always, since it's first person there. So this can turn you to stone. It's real bad. Anyway, that way I don't waste MP on fights where I don't need to cast spells. And a lot of times I can kill multiple things with just the first character in the party. There are mechanics to how party order matters and experience distribution based on that, and there are a lot of things to know. Tome of Lies. Tome of Lies lowers your intelligence and wisdom. It's not a cursed item. Oops, I just walked into a pit. I don't know why I did that. Let me think here. On the third floor here. Nope. Oh, the game always lags whenever the song changes. Gotta love programmer music. Whoops, oh well. Ants on an anti-magic square, there's so many of them. Fortunately, weapons and the multiple swings stat can give you extra swings. That's just a number, that isn't how many multiple swings you get, that's just the level of the statistic. In Demise, which is Demise Rise of the Kutan, which is more or less a sequel to this game. There is actually MORDOR 2, but that's another game anyway. It actually tells you how many extra swings you're really getting. But for the most part, you're just getting them from your weapon. You only get multiple swings if the enemy dies on a swing. Oh, somebody just got poisoned by that poison gas trap that I failed to disarm. Let me see here. I think there's a goblin lord or something over here. It's been a long, long time. Yeah, so there's almost always going to be goblin guards in this square, and the next one and the next one. Because this is where the goblin lord is. Get goblin shaman here. Goblin dinghies. Art of Being, that raises all of your stats. There are a lot of different spells in this game that do a variety of things, and realistically, there's a reason to cast pretty much all of them. It just depends upon what you're up against. Run back up to town. Right, there we go. Hit T in order to take the stairs. Oh, the enemies up here respawned because I've been downstairs for a while. And that is strictly time-based. There's randomness that goes with it, but if enough time passes, the enemies respawn. Or, well, new enemies appear in the space. Oops, I should have let it cast my Dazzle there. And some people can level up, but before I go upstairs, I definitely want to cast some heals here. There we go. Heals, very expensive, but it's usually more efficient. So weak. I think somebody else can cast some, maybe. Oh, that was all my healing spells here that I've got available at the moment. But that's okay. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm not going to take the time to avoid aging as a result of healing. That's going to tell me here. So they didn't have to risk much, because it's based on the percentage of hit points you're missing. Deposit all the money. Gnarled hands. So that's something that I already know is cursed. And if I identify it and they find out that it's cursed, then they'll sell for 0. So I'm not going to identify that. I'm just going to sell it, because they'll give me money for it. So some character statistics and levels affect your ability to identify items. At the beginning of the game, you'd just be like, liquid. Not even potion, just liquid. That's all that your character will know. Or like, hand protection, wrist protection, book. But as you get higher level and whatnot, you'll be more able to identify things just right down to the name of the item. So this is, I know, is a potion of leadership. I don't know its alignment, but I know that it's a potion of leadership, which raises charisma. It's good aligned. I'm just going to sell it to the store, because nobody in this party is good. You can't have a good and evil characters in the same party. The staticky sounding audio there is, in fact, just what happens sometimes. Anyway, just get some stuff out here. Tome of Lies, for whatever reason, the shop will absolutely pay for it. I have no idea why. Identifying the item just adds the cost to identify to its value in that situation there. So Arts of Being are pretty great. It's a good one though. It's very unlikely that I'm going to find anything that I care about at this point. But I don't even know why I bother identifying them, but it's kind of a force of habit, I guess. Alright, so some people can level up. You have to actually come back to town in order to level up, and you can continue gaining experience without leveling, but up to 1 point away from your next level. Let's go ahead and level up here. It's important to actually keep these levels close together, otherwise you wind up requiring extra experience to level. It's complicated and weird, but it's how it is. So resistances are a thing, and they're based on your race and what equipment you're wearing, and spells you may have cast on yourself in the dungeon. They expire when you come back out. Humans have no resistances by default. This is just based on the stuff I'm wearing. And they're a really, really big deal, because they protect you from spells. It's like, there are spells that just kill instantly. And if you have mind resistance, you can protect yourself from those potentially. Because like various spells, there's like, here's just damage spells, like cause wound, wizards get that. it uses magic resistance. This is the base damage, and this is the damage per spell level. You see here now, spell level 18. So hypothetically, that means that spell will do 46 damage. Hypothetically. You know, more powerful spells cost more MP, but have more damage growth. Some things have really good damage growth, some things have really bad damage growth. Some things only hit one target, like Draining Touch. It's an extremely powerful spell. Damages at Orc Hills just means that it is capable of dealing damage, because the kill category of spell does not deal damage. It either kills or has no effect. So if this isn't enough damage wouldn't have been enough damage to kill all of it, you know, take away all of its hit points, it doesn't do anything at all. And so there are some much more powerful versions of these, and they can be very useful. This one's magic resistance here. I think kill spells are magic and mind spells are mind. I don't know. Anyway, these are very handy because they're useful for killing large numbers of weak enemies, generally speaking. Of course, then you got, you know, big, stupidly expensive spell here. But there are so many spells, like, there's the poison type spells, poison and disease, fire spells, and then there's, mouse wheel doesn't do anything here, I keep forgetting. Cold spells, all sorts of stuff. You can cast charm spells to make enemies be on your side. They can potentially break free, but you can make stuff fight for you. You can have 4 companions per party member. You really, really don't want to do that, though, because the more things you have, the more likely companions are to accidentally hit you, and that if you have like a spellcasting thing that can cast kill spells, it can end very badly. Or if you have a thing that can turn things to stone by hitting them, and they hit a party member that can get turned to stone, it's real bad. So you have to be careful about things like that. And these are specialized spells here that only work on, like, devils, for example. But it's exceptionally powerful compared to most other things. So it can be very handy. And this is for Undead and Elementals, same deal there. Spells that tell you where you are and whatnot. There are spells to, like, get rid of poison and disease and paralysis. Paralysis is real bad. Prevents you from acting in combat. Binding spells are for if you've got something charmed, that makes it harder for it to break free. Movement spells are movement. Like, this lets you levitate, this tells you whether there's rock in front of you, this lets you walk through the wall that's in front of you. These are some teleports that do things. This teleports you to the place that you have predetermined with the Sanctuary spell, or Set Sanctuary. Resistance stuff. The ability to see invisible or be invisible. Resistance spells. This physical damage reduction spell. This is a kill spell. It doesn't. There's no sleep effect. It's the mind version of the kill spells. Let me see if it. There's the. Oh, there it is. Tells you something here. Yeah, you can only gain experience at a single guild at a time, and certain races can only be certain classes, and certain classes can only be certain alignments. There's a lot. Well, I'm kind of running out of things to say here. Here's where you can pick up companions or realign them even. There's a bug where if you have a slave and you realign it, it costs a negative amount of money. So you can print money that way at the beginning of the game if you need to. But beyond that, you can have somebody who's the mage class go around and charm stuff and then sell them to the confinement for money. That's another way you can make some money early on. Because gold is important, you gotta have it. And the bank can hold up to 40 items, I believe, so that, like, you can have your equipment for separate classes and stuff, because different classes can only wear different equipment. Daggers are nice, for example, because they're not class restricted and every class can use them. Not class restricted means that as long as one of your classes can wear it, all of them can. All of the ones that are allowed to, anyhow. So, like, in this case, like my Cloak of Night, I can wear as any of these classes. On the other hand, actually, with this one, I'm actually wearing all stuff. Okay, it's like steel helmet here. So this is not a, like, audio hat. This is a helmet. Well, it's a hats, helmets, whatever. But this can only be used by these classes here. So even if it weren't class restricted, which it is, class restricted, I mean, then I have to be. I still would only be able to wear it as these, but since it is class restricted, I have to be that level as that class in order to wear it as that class. But the benefit of things like these, they usually have better defensive stats. So, like, do I have somebody wearing? No, I don't. Well, it's like steel gauntlets here. Seeker, so level 36, 6'3" plus 1 strength. On the other hand, I can be wearing gloves of strength at a similar-ish level, but it's 6'0" with 1 strength on it, but everybody can use it. It's still class restricted, but every class can wear it. But there are drawbacks in some cases, like come back here. It's like steel plate mail. Decreases your dexterity while you're wearing it, which also lowers attack and defense. So it's not always better. Like, so it's steel plate mail, for example. Each dex point is 3 attack and defense, I believe. So effectively, this is only a 3/9. On the other hand, there's like chainmail, for example, that only has the -1 dex, but it doesn't usually have the attack bonus. But you get a lot more defense than the equivalent. What am I wearing here? Suede leather armor, there we go. Of course, you can see you gotta be ridiculously high level to wear that, but this only has 9 defense. So it's, sometimes there's trade-offs. Let me see if the general store has any of the, like steel plate mail's 9/15. On the other hand, bronze plate mail gives you -2 dex, but it's 6/9, which means that all it turns into is a 0/3, which is exactly what just plain leather armor is. So there is in fact no reason to wear that, because this is exactly the same. On the other hand, the bronze chainmail, it gives you -3 attack to wear it, but you'll have 6 defense instead of only 3. It's not worth it either, though. It doesn't start becoming remotely reasonable until you get up to here. But, like, plate mail, however, it's still, the iron gives you 0 attack. It's and 9 defense, which is okay, but let's see, that's level 26. On the other hand, the suede leather armor, I think, is the equivalent one here. And it takes the same level, and it's still the 9 defense, so you don't need it. It's once you start getting past iron plate mail that things start being more reasonable, so that you actually get the attack bonus for real. Let's see here. This character got created in 2008. And I've played this character for 73 hours. It's real hours. 73 real-life hours I have played this character, or have had it in my party while I was playing the game. It keeps track of how many times you've died, how many times you've had complications from resurrection. It's it's very nice for people like me who like to keep track of that kind of thing. Well, anyway, I think that's all I'm going to do with this for now. It's definitely not the most interesting game to watch, but I've always had a lot of fun with it over the years. Well, I mean, I've been playing it for a really long time. load up some other character real quick. Got some silly character names here due to playing this game for 100 million years. Get some. Let's see here. The healer just named healer. 169 hours on this character. Created in 2000. So, I've been playing this game for a while. Actually, created in 2000. It's been a while I've been playing this game. Probably before then, to be honest, but this is just like who killed the most powerful thing or who has the highest stats and stuff. Well, anyway, I'm sure this wasn't very interesting for anybody, but I wanted to record a little bit of it, just as a test more than anything. But that's all for now, so until next time, I may just throw up some random other things